Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 41 of Warhammer Imperium magazine, the Necron Chronomancer model that comes with it, and then our battles will be moving to a new battle mat. Hello, I'm Will, and this is Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video, we're bringing you issue 41 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. This issue came with a Chronomancer model for the Necron forces. If you want to see what he can do on our latest battle mat, you can skip ahead to the timecode in the description for the battle report, or use the chapter bars. But we'll have a look through this issue first. So first of all, we learn a bit about Chronomancers. These are another order of the Cryptex, the Necron scientists and advisors. Chronomancers specialise in the science of time, and they can bend time to their will. You can see some of his equipment here. He's got an Aeon Stave, which shoots beams of chronal energy, a Time Splinter Mantle, and a Chronometron, which allow him to manipulate time for his and his allies' benefits. And here's his battle record. As usual, you can give him a name and a designation and keep track of things he's done in battle. And we have another in-universe report, this time about the Death Guard Traitor Legion, one of the original Space Marine legions that turned to the worship of the Chaos God Nurgle, the god of disease and decay, and now plague the Imperium still, 10,000 years later. There's a bit here about their Primarch, Mortarion the Reaper, now ascended to demonhood. Plague Marines, which are the hideously mutated and disease-ridden legionaries of the Death Guard, and their many demon engines, horrific machines bound with a demon inside them. Then we're on to the build guide for the Chronomancer. He's not too difficult to put together, but you do actually have some options with him here. You can give him one of two different staves, so you can equip him with either and you get the rules for both. You also have the choice of having his Chronometron open or closed, and three different head options, which don't have any rules effect, but allows you to personalise your model. And then his painting guide is just the same as our usual Necron painting, Greenlord brass and Avalon black base coats. Lead Belcher and Canoptic alloy and so forth, and also, at least if you've made him with the Aeon Stave, which they suggest, then you can use Khorne Red to paint the energy globe on the top of that, and then some white for various other parts that will probably be painted another colour later. And there is what he looks like up to this point, assuming you made him as the magazine suggests. This issue also comes with a fold-out insert, this one about the Necron armoury of vehicles, all of which are highly technologically advanced. On the left-hand page we've got the Annihilation Barge, a small sort of anti-gravity gun platform, and the Monolith, which is a gigantic war machine that can teleport Necrons into battle. On the other side, Ghost Arcs, which transport squads of Necron warriors into battle, and then can also repair damaged ones, and the Doomsday Arc, which is similar in design, but most of its length is taken up by a gigantic cannon. And over on the other side, we've just got another photograph with a couple more monoliths and a Ghost Arc supporting the Necron forces. But that's it for the contents of this issue, so now we'll get on and have a look at the rules for the Chronomancer, and some new rules for our games, and then get into our battle.
Now we can have a look at the datasheet for our new Chronomancer. You can see his stat line is very similar to the Technomancer because it is a Cryptech like the Technomancer. A few slight differences, like he has a base movement of 8 and can fly by default. And it even gives you the weapon profiles for both of his weapon options. R1 has the Entropic Lance. For his special rules, he has Living Metal and Command Protocols, like most of the other Necrons. Dynastic Advisors is useful for building your army. He has a 4+ invulnerable save from his Time Splinter Mantle, and his Chronometron allows you to choose a friendly Zarrakan unit within 9 inches of him in the command phase, and then that unit can reroll charge rolls and has a 5+ invulnerable save until the next Necron command phase. And there's a little bit here about how the weapon options he has. So 2 profiles, one for shooting, one for melee. You just use whichever one's appropriate. And then the tutorial on the other page, one just showing how the Aeon Stave ignores invulnerable saves, and then the Chronometron there just clarifying how it works. And now we have more of the core rules, quite an important section, actions. And this basically represents anything a unit might want to do on the battlefield that isn't just fighting the enemy. So things like dismantling traps, putting up banners, that sort of thing. Usually these are part of doing objectives. So when a unit wants to perform an action, you declare that it is going to do so. Description of the action will tell you when it can be done and when it is completed. However, units cannot perform actions if an enemy is in engagement range with that unit, or if the unit has advanced or fell back back in the turn it wants to do action. If a unit is destroyed, makes a normal move, advances, falls back, attempts to manifest a psychic power, declares a charge, performs a heroic intervention, or makes any attacks with ranged weapons after it has started to perform an action, but before that action is completed, the action has also failed. So pretty much the only thing a unit that is doing an action can do is make melee attacks and pile in. And also characters with aura abilities do not get to use those aura abilities while they're doing an action. So say the lieutenant's aura is not in effect while he's doing his action. And also aircraft and fortifications can't perform actions because that would be a bit silly if a building or a plane could do whatever it is. And there's also a subcategory of actions, of psychic actions. These can only be performed by a unit with the psychic keyword, and they are done in the psychic phase instead of using a psychic power. And this actually works in pretty much exactly the same way as performing a psychic power. You roll a psychic test, you get a perils if you roll a double 1 or a double 6, and enemy psychers can attempt to deny the witch as if it were a psychic power. And over here it shows we got some markers with this mission to denote action objectives. It has a little bit about psychic actions, but the librarian is the only psychic we get with the collection, so probably not going to be too many psychic actions in these missions. And it also important to note is that the Canoptic Spider's Gloom Prism does not allow it to deny psychic actions. It can only deny psychic powers.
Future Will here, and just checking the official FAQ documentation, I seem to have found something that actually directly contradicts what they've just said in the magazine, specifically that psychic actions are treated as psychic powers in all respects, according to this paragraph here. In particular, the bit that I've highlighted that says rules that enable you to deny a psychic power can also be used to deny a psychic action, which Gloom Prism definitely is, so I argue that the magazine seems to be wrong on this point, but I'm not entirely sure. Let us know what you think in the comments below.
And there's a tutorial for how actions are performed here. So you can see in the top example, those assault intercessors are near the objective so they can perform the action required. And it also notes that the protocol of the Sudden Storm, one of the Necron command protocols, has a directive that allows a unit performing an action to shoot without failing the action. So that is a nice bit of flexibility for the Necrons. And then there's a little bit about psychic actions down the bottom there. But again, it's exactly the same as doing a psychic power pretty much. And now we can actually get on to a new mission pack, fitting as the action is moving from Tsiphos to Alectia, and where Megaria was the industrial centre of Ramasus and Tsiphos was the military bastion. Alectia is its spiritual heart, and most of the action here is taking place in Alectia Prime, the largest population centre on the planet, although millions of its occupants have already been abducted or killed by the Necrons, leaving just a small band of battle sisters holding out, while the Space Marines are desperately trying to reinforce them. So the Initiate mission pack missions are covering the fighting within and various holy sites on the planet. And the mission pack comes with its own set of rules, like the scout mission, so these are the ones we'll be using from now on. They're mostly similar, but I'll skim through the differences. First up in the muster army step, you can see there it says that all of our forces must share one keyword, so Imperium or Necron, and then as long as all the forces in an army share one keyword, you get access to any faction specific rules. So the Imperium will get, it says here, the Adepta Sororitas is Acts of Faith, but there's also the Mechanicus is Canticles and Doctrine or Imperatives. And then once we have mustered our army, we choose one of our models to be the Warlord. I imagine pretty much always this will be a character, because if they are a character, they get the Inspiring Leader Warlord trait. That just gives the Warlord an aura, where friendly units get +1 leadership while they're within 6 inches of the Warlord. Rather than having set starting positions for each side, we just have an attacker and defender, and if the mission does not say otherwise, we roll off to decide who's the attacker or defender. And that is important because the defender begins deploying their army first. It also notes a bit about strategic reserves and reinforcements, so you can set up some of your army in reserve, but no more than half your army can be in strategic reserve, even if you have more than half of your units are capable of doing so. And then we're rolling off to decide who gets the first or second turn, otherwise pretty much everything is the same as the scout mission. So now we can finally get on to today's mission. So the background here is that some of the forces of the Adepta Sororitas Order of Our Martyred Lady are holding out in the Basilica of St Marcius, but the Necrons have been able to disrupt the power conduits powering the Basilica's weapons batteries, led by the Chronomancer, while the Space Marines, led by the Primaris Lieutenant, are going down into the depths of Alectia Prime to try and restart these generators. And we can get into our mission, Generator Assault. And it doesn't say Scout Mission at the top. We're going to assume that's a typo, because it should be an Initiate mission. I'll show you the battlefield here. We are using the map from issue 38. We have all of the pre-printed terrain already, so we can just put that on. And we have one of our new action objectives down there, 3 inches away from the centre of the battlefield. And we have the defender's deployment zone, a 9-inch right angle triangle in the bottom left, and the attackers in the opposite corner. For our forces, we have the Chronomancer, the 10 Necron warriors, and the 5 flayed ones for the Necrons. And for the Space Marines, we have the Lieutenant, the Librarian, and 5 Assault Intercessors. It notes that the Space Marines are the attacker in this mission, and that the action objective represents the power generator they're trying to activate. There is a progressive mission objective, where each time the attacker finishes the following action, they score a victory point. So that's the activate the generator action. One unit from the attacker's army can do this action at the end of the movement phase, provided that they are in range of the objective marker and no enemy units are within range of the objective marker. From what it says, I think that just means they just do it at the end of the movement phase and then they're free to shoot. It just instantly completes. And then the defenders have the cut them down objective, where they get a victory point for each enemy unit destroyed, plus an additional victory point if they destroy the enemy's warlord. And the battle will last for 5 battle rounds, and whoever's the most victory points at the end is victorious. So I'll just show you here the 5 objective markers that come with this issue. We'll probably make do with the numbered ones. With that little overview over, we'll come back after we finish deployment. Now we finished our deployment. We've set up the battlefield the opposite way round to how it shows in the magazine, just to make it more convenient to film. So you can see all the terrain there. It's the same terrain as we've seen on the previous board, just in a different configuration. Go over my deployment first. So I've just deployed my assault intercessors in a line along the front, and then the 2 characters behind them, and hopefully they're all concealed by this ruin. And the lieutenant is going to be my warlord. Over by the Necron deployment, you can see we have our objective marker for the generator. And then the Necron deployment.
We've just got the warriors and the new Chronomancer on the board, whereas the flayed ones are in their place they set up so they can turn up later on in the game. And the Chronomancer will be my warlord, since he's the only character model that I have to take that mantle.
It doesn't specify who goes first, so we're rolling off. I win the roll off, and I think I will choose to go first. So we'll go into Space Marines turn 1. So in my movement phase, all of my units are just going to advance. Some intercessors roll a 4, so they'll take the lead, and the 2 characters got a 5 each, but they're going to lag behind a bit so they don't get shot at. And we're getting pretty close to the objective, should be able to move on to it in the next movement phase. And then in the psychic phase, the Librarian is close enough to the warriors and can see one through the window of that ruin, so he'll try to manifest smite at them. So he needs a 5, he gets a 6, nothing the Necrons can do to avoid that, so D3 mortal wounds to the warriors for 1.
But it doesn't get to reanimate because it's not a shooting or melee attack. We'll just take it out.
And we'll be on to Necron's turn 1.
So in my command phase, I will use the Chronomancer's Chronometron ability to give the warriors a 5+ invulnerable save. And we didn't say it earlier, but obviously I don't have command protocols in this game because my warlord does not have the noble keyword. So in my movement phase, we advanced with the warriors because that was the way to get all of them in range rather than just 3. The Chronomancer just followed them. He's got an 8-inch move, so he's able to keep up. And at the end of the movement phase, the flayed ones have arrived from their dimensional translocation, more than 9 inches away from the assault intercessors, but they are through the wall within 3 of the objective, so they will prevent the Imperials from performing the action.
Yeah, and then there's nothing in the mission pack that says you can't bring reinforcements in turn 1, so you're going to assume this is allowed.
So then we'll be on to the shooting phase. We're going to start with the Chronomancer. He's going to shoot his Eldritch Lance at the assault intercessors. It has 1 shot that hits on a 3. It does. It wounds on a 2. Because it's strength 8, which it does.
Save you -3, so it's 6+. Oh, I made it.
That's quite important.
Yeah, it would have killed an assault intercessor.
And then 18 shots from the warriors, also at the assault intercessors, hitting on 4s because we advanced. There are 3 different colours of dice here, which is because different models have cover from different ones of the Necrons because of the pipe. Not going to bother explaining it, we'll just roll all the dice and then resolve it as at the end. So we've got 4 hits with the red dice and 4 with the white dice. All of the black dice missed. And then these wound on 3s. That's a lot of 2s and 1s. That's a single wound.
So I'm going to put the wound on this guy, so he would have cover from that shot. Yeah, so the white dice meant that was a shot you could take cover from. Yeah, so here's a 4+ save, which he made.
And then in the charge phase, I might as well declare a charge with the flayed ones, because otherwise they will probably be charged in return. We'll just declare the assault intercessors, and we need a 9, because they had to start more than 9 inches away. They rolled a 6.
Well, that'll be the end of the Necron turn. It is important that those flayed ones arrived, because it does mean they're in range of Objective 1, and I won't be able to do the action in my next turn. So we'll head into Space Marines turn 2. So in my movement phase, everyone's just moved up normally, getting all of the intercessors into a spot where they can see a Necron, so they can shoot. Can't do the action, unfortunately, because the flayed ones inside the building are within range of the objective. So onto the psychic phase, where the Librarian will try and use Smite again. Once again, needing a 5. Getting a 5, so this will hit the flayed ones because they're the closest visible unit for D3 mortal wounds, 3 this time.
Well, now that the end of the movement phase has passed, I'll remove the ones that were within range of the objective because it doesn't matter anymore and it makes the charge longer.
So then we're straight onto the shooting phase. We'll start the Librarian again. He's going to put a bolt pistol shot into this flayed one out here. He has 1 shot hitting on a 3. He hits. Wounds on a 4. Fails to wound, and no rerolling ones because he is not a core unit. I'll do the assault intercessors next. They're all going to shoot at the warriors. One of them at this end is going to throw a frag grenade, and the sergeant is not going to supercharge his plasma pistol. So frag grenade is d6 shots, minimum 3. So 3. So black dice is the grenade and red dice is the plasma pistol. These all hit on 3s. 2 misses with pistols. So then the black dice wound on 5s, the strength 2 frag grenade, white dice wounds on a 4, red dice wounds on a 3, and these are all rerolling 1s. Reroll that 1. Failed to wound. So that's only 2 wounds. 1 at AP nothing and 1 at AP minus 3.
I've got a 5+ invulnerable save against the plasma thanks to the Chronometron, which I failed. And then I'll put the frag grenade wound on the one who's in the building for a 3+ save. Made that.
Well, and that's all my shooting from the assault intercessors, so does that dead warrior stand up again?
Oh, he does. So this one we'll say was killed by the plasma pistol, and then we'll just put it back again, basically.
Finally, Lieutenant's going to fire his neo-Volkite pistol at the warriors. 2 shots hitting on 2s, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, 6 is do mortal wounds, just 1 wound.
I'll put it on the guy in cover again for the 3+ save, which you made.
Now we're on to the charge phase, where the assault intercessors will charge the warriors only. Their charge distance is an 11, that's definitely enough. So the assault intercessors finish their charge like that, getting them all within range of a Necron. And then the librarian will try to charge the flayed ones. He rolls a 9, that's going to be enough. And that gets him inside the building and in contact with the flayed ones. And I'll start the fight phase off with him as well. So the librarian's got 4 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 3. And wounding on 3s, getting 2.
But that will kill them because it's AP minus 3 and they have a 4+ save.
Yeah.
Just enter the flayed one unit.
And then the librarian will consolidate towards that warrior there. So that conveniently brings him into lookout sir range of the assault intercessors, who I will pick to fight next. 16 attacks hitting on 3s. That's 10 hits. Wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s because of the lieutenant. 6 so far, rerolling the 2 1s, getting another 1, so 7 in total.
5+ saves against these. Made 2, so 5 die to reanimate. We'll do reanimations on 5 rerolling 1s. We've got 1 success and a 1 to reroll. 1 success.
So 4 dead.
So the 1 comes back, come back there.
So the assault intercessors will consolidate into the Necrons, and that guy at the back is going to hang back a bit to provide lookouts there to the lieutenant. And that is going to be the end of my turn, and we'll be on to Necron's turn 2.
Future will again, and yes, we did forget to let those Necron warriors attack back in this turn. It's not the first time this has happened either. Maybe we need to make ourselves a sign or something, but pretty sure their attacks would not have made any difference. There's only 5 of them. Nevertheless, we apologise for this error.
In my command phase, I will use the Chronometron on the warriors again. In the movement phase, the warriors have fallen back from the assault intercessors, and the Chronomancer has flown over into the corner of the building. He is within 3 inches of the objective to stop the Space Marines from activating it, and he's also closest to the librarian, so in the shooting phase he will shoot the librarian. 1 shot, hitting on a 3. He did hit. Wounds on 2, strength 8. That's a wound.
So the librarian has a 4+, it's minus 3 AP. He gets +1 from cover, and then another +1 from his camo cloak, which I made. No shooting from the warriors, obviously, because they fell back. And I've moved the building out of the way, so I can show that the librarian's going to heroically intervene into the Chronomancer.
That was the danger.
I forgot to mention it in the overview, but the Chronomancer is much more dangerous as well than the Technomancer in melee, because he's got 3 damage from his stick, and he gets some extra attacks from his tendrils as well. So since it's the Necron turn, the librarian gets to go first with his 4 attacks hitting on 3s, getting 2. Wounding on 3s, getting 2.
But he does have a 4+ invulnerable save from his Time Splinter Mantle. He made 1.
D3 damage for 2.
3 damage, 2 wounds. In melee, it's only strength user, so winning on a 4. No. But then he does get 3 attacks from his tendrils, which hit on 3s. They do. They win on 4s, so strength 4 as well. Oh, none of them do. They would be no AP, no 1 damage.
Both the characters are still locked in combat, but it is important because the Technomancer is going to be still alive at the end of my movement phase. And we'll be heading into Space Marines turn 3. So in my movement phase, the Lieutenant's going to move up to the window of this building, and then the assault intercessors are going to carry on moving around, apart from this chap here who's going into the building, so he's within 6 inches of the Lieutenant. And then I can't do the action because the Chronomancer is still within 3 of the objective, so in the psychic phase, the Librarian in the building is going to try and use Smite. Needing a 5, getting it with a 7, it's going to hit the Chronomancer for D3 damage, just 1, it's down to 1 wound. Then we'll go on to the shooting phase. I'll start with the Lieutenant. He can see one of the warriors, so he'll shoot his neo-Volkite pistol at them. 2 shots hitting on 2s, getting 2. Wounding on 3s, 6s do a mortal wound in addition. 1 wound.
4+ save, failed.
So that's 1 dead warrior. Does he stand up again?
Yes.
So that one warrior nearest the intercessors has teleported to the other side. Do the assault intercessors next. One guy here will throw a frag grenade again, and Sarge won't overcharge his plasma pistol. D6 shots from the frag grenade, 3 again. So all of these shots hit on 3s. So there's 1 grenade hitting 3 pistol hits. So these white dice wound on 4s, and the black dice wounds on a 5, and these are all rerolling 1s. Just 2 pistol wounds.
5+. Make one fail one. Does the dead one get back up? Rerolling 1s. No. Down to 4 warriors.
Yeah. And finally, the librarian's going to fire his bolt pistol at the Chronomancer. 1 shot hitting on a 3. I missed. In the charge phase, the lieutenant's going to charge the Chronomancer. I will roll this because he might be able to get a 9. I think I want to get him in the building actually. So he'll come inside the building like that. It's just so he can get his aura to the assault intercessors, who will try and charge the warriors. And they get a 4. That's going to be enough to get them in. So the assault intercessors finish their charge like that. We're going to start the fight phase with the lieutenant because he's the most important one. 4 attacks from the lieutenant, hitting on 2s, getting 3, and wounding on 3s. Uh-oh. Then the assault intercessors will get to go. 16 attacks hitting on 3s, 13 hits, wounding on 4s, rerolling 1s. That one went out of the box. That was a wound, so 7 wounds.
7 5+ saves. Made 3. No, they're all dead. There are 4 left.
The assault intercessors will consolidate a little bit just to get them closer to the objective, and then the Chronomancer gets to go.
And he will attack the librarian because he hasn't fought yet. The 1 attack with the Eldritch Lance hitting on a 3. No, he missed. And the tendrils hitting on 3s. Hit once. Wound on a 4. Oh, it did. No AP, 1 damage.
3+ save. Saved. And the librarian's hitbacks hitting on 3s rather. A roll of 2 extremes, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, 2 wounds.
4+ invulnerable saves. That failed both, so he takes...
Well, it takes 3 damage and dies. Well, there's no Necrons left, so even though I have no victory points, there's nothing stopping me getting any, so that will be a Space Marine victory, and I'll recap this game for you now. So that was the game for issue 41 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, obviously not very well. Unfortunately, I think the fact that I got 8 hits and then only 1 wound from that opening volley of shooting, and they never got to shoot again, unfortunately, my warriors. I don't know if that would actually have affected the outcome that much, because even if you lost 2 or 3 assault intercessors, I think by tying my whole army up in melee, you're kind of likely to win anyway, because the flayed ones aren't actually that dangerous if you charge them and get to fight them first, or indeed smite them all to death. And so my army just isn't really very competent in melee. If I'd done a lot more damage with that shooting, and then later on been able to shoot, say, the librarian dead with the staff, then it could have been rather more harder for you. So I don't think this game is impossible for the Necrons to win. I just think the way it went on this occasion was not my way.
Oh yeah, I do think you were very unlucky, and I made both my saves against the extremely dangerous staff weapon the Chronomancer has. Yeah, and also I got to go first. I won the roll-off and got a decent advance roll. If I was a little bit slower out the gate, I think as well, you can take positions in the building.
That also forced me to bring my flayed ones down in range of the objective to stop you getting victory points, but that just meant they just got charged and destroyed for they didn't even get to attack.
Yeah, and as far as we could tell, that action just instantly completed. It didn't say anything about how long it took to complete, so there didn't seem to be any downside to me doing it.
No, normally an action will say it's completed at the start of your next command phase or something like that, or the end of your turn, but it doesn't say anything at all, so either that was a mistake or they
it might have been made more sense if it was something they did at the start of the movement phase and then finished at the end of the movement phase, so at least that model couldn't move.
Yeah, as it was, I had to just have a unit in range of it at all times to stop you getting victory points.
And it was probably mostly irrelevant because I ended up being able to wipe you out. I guess it is a little bit, I don't want to say unfair, but they give you a character whose gimmick is that he gives units invulnerable saves, but I get a character that just completely ignores that.
With Smite, yeah.
Yeah, and the 5+ invulnerable save only really matters against the Sergeant's plasma pistol and the 2 melee weapons from the characters. And the re-rolling charges would be useful for the flayed ones. So I mean, I don't know, maybe if you hadn't put them in reserves, you could have used it on them and then re-rolled that charge, but still probably would have been a fairly long charge.
Again, although the Chronomancer in theory can be quite dangerous in melee, he's only got 1 attack and it's only strength 4. The tendrils aren't really a major threat because they don't have any AP.
And he has a dangerous gun. I mean, I do think that the Entropic Staff probably is actually the better option for this collection.
I went with the Entropic Lance because Space Marines all have more than 1 wound, and so having a strength 8 gun that can automatically kill something and is also a real threat to your characters, I think is much more valuable than D3 shots at strength 5 with a -2 AP ignoring invulnerable saves.
Doing 1 damage damage with a 5+ save is probably worse than doing D3 plus 3 against a 4+ invulnerable save, so it only gets 1 attack in melee as well.
And in the magazine it suggests that it's good for shooting at characters like the Lieutenant with his invulnerable save, but it's useless against the Lieutenant because he has a 2+ save with his shield anyway, so it's reduced to a 4+ with the AP. And then I suppose against the Captain it would reduce him to a 5+, but doing 1 damage.
It would take you multiple turns to shoot him dead.
It might be useful against certain armies, not really against this Imperium.
Yeah, well, it's not useful against Skitarii because the AP is low enough that either their armor will be reduced to a 6 or a 5+.
But like the Technomancer, the Chronomancer is a support character, and you bring him for the thing that gives you the 5+ invulnerable save, which would be a lot more handy in other missions.
Yeah, I don't think this is a very good showing of his abilities. Cryptechs are support characters. You'd have an Overlord to do all the fighting. Chronomancer can protect things at the back.
Yeah, and it's not just core units either, so you can use it on other units like Destroyers, which is
or the Royal Warden.
Yeah, or a character who doesn't have an invulnerable save.
Yeah, and I guess we could talk a bit about actions. I think there's something new that was added with 9th edition, but it's just to add extra flavour to objectives for missions mostly. And it does add some interesting tactical considerations, because usually units that are doing actions basically can't do anything else, so you do have to be careful what you use to do the action. You might have to choose between damaging the enemy or getting victory points is more important.
Particularly so in smaller games like this, because when you only have a few units, having one of them basically do nothing for a turn can be quite a big consideration.
Like the Lieutenant is what I was probably going to use to do actions. Doesn't get his aura as well. And we also learned about Warlords as well, which also are an important thing. Later on, no doubt, we'll get other Warlord traits, some of which can be very powerful and flavourful as well.
At the moment, +1 leadership is unlikely to be that useful.
Yeah, effectively it just means one more casualty you can absorb before having to take a test.
And I do like the Chronomancer model. He's another variation of creepy robot, this one with all the sort of octopus tentacles. I like the fact that you've got several of the, I think it's the Chronomatron is the cube he's holding, but he's got several of them on his sort of headdress thing, so as though he brings his collection along, which I quite like. And also I like his long wispy beard, which is a sort of proper wizard look.
Yeah, I quite like all the Cryptech models. They do fit that sort of wizened advisor look, even though they're machines. It's quite a cool aesthetic. And this would be a good issue, also would be a very good value for money as well, because usually Cryptechs must be about £20 or something.
Yeah, so he's less than half price.
So I don't think there's much more to say about this game, or this issue, or the Chronomancer. So as always, if you like this content, do leave a like and subscribe, and do leave any comments. If you chose to give the Chronomancer the other weapon, do let us know and say your reasons why. Maybe we're overlooking something. If you played this game, how did it go for you? We've been the Table Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.